A reading from Mark's Gospel, chapter 6, beginning at verse 30. The apostles returned to Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. And he said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a desolate place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they ran there on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret and moored to the shore. And when they got out of the boat, the people immediately recognized him and ran about the whole region and began to bring the sick people on their beds to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he came, in villages, cities, or countryside, they laid the sick in the marketplaces and implored him that they might touch even the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched it were made well. There's an image that we see in this passage that I'd just like to spend a little time considering. And the phrase which brought it to mind was this: "And he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd." Now, anybody who's come across sheep which have wriggled through a small hole in the hedge or anywhere else, the image of a sheep without a shepherd is an obvious one to you. It's wandering aimlessly. I can remember driving across a common on the very top of Clee Hill, and there were the sheep aimlessly wandering around in front of the car, not in front of the car, because they were sheep without a shepherd. I mean, they were safe there, but nonetheless, they just wandered where they wanted. And to a Jew, though, hearing Mark's Gospel, I think a rather different image would come to mind. They wouldn't be so much thinking of a sheep that's escaped and is there on the roads, but rather their mind would go back to Jeremiah. Let me read you the passage and you'll see why I say it. This is from Jeremiah 23. "Woe to the shepherds who destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, declares the Lord. Therefore thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, concerning the shepherds who care for my people. You have scattered my flock and have driven them away, and you have not attended to them. Behold, I will attend to you for your evil deeds, declares the Lord. Then I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries where I have driven them, and I will bring them back to their fold, and they shall be fruitful and multiply. I will set shepherds over them who will care for them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall any be missing, declares the Lord. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he shall reign as king and deal wisely, and shall execute justice and righteousness in the land. In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will dwell securely. And this is the name by which he will be called: the Lord is our righteousness." Now here's one of those occasions where we can see that the Old Testament provides a good background to the New Testament. There's one story that unfolds across both Old and New Testaments. And to simply read the New Testament without reading the Old, well, it's rather like reading an Agatha Christie book, but just going to the final chapter. And you're there listening to Poirot telling you who done it. And you're wondering, well, who is the butler? And who is Lord Randolph? And who is the maid? Who are these people? You need the whole book, you need the whole context to make sense of it, and so it is with the Bible. And so back to Jeremiah. Look again and note who the shepherd is in this case. The people of Israel have been left leaderless. We can see this from the passage, or rather we should say that their leaders have proved themselves to be wolves. The people are scattered, they're neglected, they've been driven to other countries. Think of perhaps the Jews in Babylon, or even worse, the 10 tribes taken into Assyria and disappearing. There's only a remnant left, just a few, and to these a new shepherd comes, God himself. "And I will gather the remnant of my flock, and I will bring them back. Only then," we read, "will God set shepherds over them who will care for them." So it is that Jesus, the Good Shepherd, is in fact the Lord, returning to shepherd his people, those sheep without a shepherd. He is, as Isaiah foresees, the righteous branch of King David. He is the one from the line of David who will reign. He is the one who will bring salvation to Judah. He is the one who is called the Lord is our righteousness. So it is that Jesus, King and Shepherd, is another shepherd like King David. So it is that Jesus is our righteousness, because when we come to be judged by God, it is his righteousness with which we are clothed. We trust in Jesus' righteousness, in all that he has done, rather than our good works. We trust ourselves to his sacrifice upon the cross, and not great pools of merit that we may have earned for ourselves. We place our faith in what Jesus has done, not on what we might do. It is the Lord who is our righteousness and not ourselves. This is a fact that was there right at the core of the Reformation. This was something which caused those reformers to leap into praise. Perhaps I could illustrate that for you just with a small reading from John Calvin, one of these early reformers. This, he said, is the wonderful exchange which out of his measureless benevolence he has made with us, that, becoming Son of Man with us, he has made us sons of God with him. That, by his descent to earth, he has prepared an ascent to heaven for us. That, by taking on our mortality, he has conferred his immortality upon us. That, accepting our weakness, he has strengthened us by his power. That, receiving our poverty unto himself, he has transferred his wealth to us. That, taking the weight of our iniquity upon himself, which oppressed us, he has clothed us with his righteousness. So it is that when we look to the Old as well as the New, when we read these New Testament accounts in their context, when we read the Scriptures as a whole and not simply a collection of random books, we discover the great plot that there is of salvation within them. Yes, Jesus is a shepherd, but he's also more than a shepherd. He is the great shepherd to which Isaiah and Ezekiel looked. The seeds of Christ's ministry lay scattered across the Old Testament. And as we read the New Testament, and as we read the Bible as a whole, we marvel at what they have grown into. Christ, the Son of God, who came for us and for our salvation.